A post-nuptial agreement is an agreement between you and your spouse, and it's very similar to a prenuptial agreement, only it's signed after your wedding. A post-nuptial agreement can be signed anytime after your marriage. Some people may start to negotiate a prenuptial agreement before the wedding, but they didn't quite get it done before the wedding date, and so they sign it after their marriage, and it's considered a post-nuptial agreement because they signed it as husband and wife. As opposed to if they signed it ahead of time, it would be considered a prenuptial agreement. The primary difference between a prenup and a postnup is a legal interpretation or a legal enforceability of the document. So when you're signing a prenuptial agreement with your partner before you get married, you're just typical ordinary people, as opposed to once you're signing it, once you're married as a married couple, now you have fiduciary responsibility to one another. So the standard that'll be applied to the interpretation of your agreement is different. The courts will apply one level of interpretation. Is this a fair agreement that two people, that would bona fide agreement that would be signed by two people, two strangers in essence, before they get married, versus would a couple sign this agreement, then they have fiduciary responsibility to one another in the form that it's in. So a post-nuptial agreement be taking into account the fact that you have fiduciary responsibilities to one another. Why would a couple sign a post-nuptial agreement? So one situation is a scenario that I just mentioned whereby they weren't able to complete that prenuptial agreement in time for their wedding. So they just are signing it a week or so after their marriage. And that's perfectly fine. Other circumstances in which a post-nuptial agreement will be signed, perhaps one of the couple is entering into a new business venture and they're going to have partners. So they want to make sure that they protect themselves. They want to protect the partners in the business. God forbid you and your spouse break up in the future. Other times that a post-nuptial agreement will be signed, perhaps you and your spouse are running into difficulties with one another, challenges, and money is the major issue between the two of you. So you might want to enter into a post-nuptial agreement to clarify and clear the air with respect to whatever your concerns are. And this way you put it into a document, a legal enforceable document that addresses what those financial concerns are, so that both of you are on the same page with respect to how finances will be handled between the two of you. Similar to a prenuptial agreement, a post-nuptial agreement can also address all the financial circumstances that arise during marriage. If there are assets, if there are debts that are accumulated during the marriage, those can certainly be addressed in your agreement. You might acquire a property and take on a mortgage. So who's responsible for that mortgage? You can define that in your post-nuptial agreement as to whether this is a shared expense or this is just the expense of one party. Again, with respect to a business, if the business takes on debt, they may not want to have the responsibility of your spouse with respect to your business debts that's accumulated. So any sort of debt can certainly be addressed in the agreement. Maybe one of you is going to school or education and taking out student loans or accumulating credit card debt. All of these types of debt can be addressed in your post-nuptial agreements. Generally speaking, in a prenuptial or a post-nuptial agreement, we don't generally deal with child support or parenting plans unless the children exist. So if you have a child that is alive from your relationship, in a post-nuptial agreement, you can certainly address certain concerns with respect to the child in your post-nuptial agreements. Similar to a prenuptial agreement, a post-nuptial agreement also requires certain things so that it'll be enforceable. In New York, it is advisable that both parties are separately represented by counsel, that there is certain language that's included in the agreement stating that neither one of you was forced or coerced to sign the agreement, that you understand the terms of what you're signing, neither one of you were under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time that you signed it, and the document needs to be signed with certain formalities that are compliant with New York law. Should you have any additional questions about post-nuptial agreements or whether it's appropriate in your circumstance, please give our office a call at Sabra Law Group. We're here to help.